let's get to some of the stuff from Rottenberg today. This interview, little tidbits. The one thing that's interesting about this, like we talked, like he wants to, okay, if he's going to go over, we want to help his family. Family values are super important. Also, if the Flyers aren't using him to his full potential, which is hilarious given they've relegated him to Sochi this past season, they could always just take him back. They could just say, he's come, we're taking him back. Especially if I very much doubt he'd end up in Reading. But if they were to send him to the AHL, they'd go, no. Or even maybe John Tortorella goes, you know what, you're going to sit a few games. You're going to play on the fourth line. There might be an opportunity for them to go, he's coming back to us.
Well, so I think it's less, and this will obviously depend on the nature of
and this is a translation we're reading.
That's the way he's going to position it. This will obviously depend on the nature of the negotiation, but my assumption about all this is not like there's going to be an out clause where, hey, you know, like we will send agents over to take Matvei Michkov and toss him into a bus and drive him back over to the airport and send him back to Russia if John Torella dares to scratch him for a game. That's not what this is. But what's interesting about this, because what Rottenberg basically said, and this has been rumored / reported for the last couple of days, is that if the contract is terminated, SKA would retain KHL rights to Michkov through the end of when the contract would have lasted. So through 2026, they would essentially retain the rights if Michkov decides, I want to go back. They would have exclusive rights to sign him at the KHL level. The interesting part about this for me is, and you hinted at it does give Michkov, assuming this goes down, assuming the contract is terminated, he signs an entry-level deal. It gives Michkov a little bit of leverage with the Flyers because we've seen over the last 2 years that John Tortorella likes to send messages to players. He likes to scratch his captains. He likes to scratch his young guys who he thinks are too offensively oriented. He likes to
send Bobby Brink to the AHL.
He likes to send down his young, talented defensemen because he doesn't feel like they play with enough jam in training camp, even though he's the top defensive prospect in the organization. He likes to do these things because he feels like ultimately it's going to get the most out of the player in the long term. Matvei Michkov, understandably, has been told for pretty much his entire life that he fucking rules. And he is great, and he is going to be awesome because, quite frankly, he does. He is really, really good. The ability to, in theory, go back to Russia and play for SKA, play for a top-tier KHL team, would give Michkov a little bit of leverage over the Flyers in terms of maybe not having the Flyers fuck with him, more than say, like what's Cam York going to do? Is he going to quit the Flyers? He going to go play in the BCHL for a year rather than continue to be in the Flyers organization? But if John Tortorella starts Morgan Frosting Matvei Michkov in his rookie year, the Flyers will need to be cognizant of the fact that Michkov could take his ball and go home. And I don't think that's a bad thing. Because I personally think that John Tortorella goes too far at times and is too much of a dick to players because he probably has too much power over their future. And in this particular situation, Matvei Michkov is going to have some power. He's not going to have all the power because he wants to play in the NHL. He wants to be a Flyer. He wants to succeed at the highest level of hockey. But it just gives him a little bit more leverage to stop the Flyers and stop John Tortorella in particular, because he tends to be the biggest culprit of really screwing with him in the way that they've screwed with almost every single player on this roster since John Tortorella has taken over as coach. Just saying.
And like we've seen, I mean, whether it's, regardless of what you want to believe about the Cutter Gauthier situation, like the Flyers have a very rigid idea about how players should be developed.
They do.
We've talked to Jonesy about this. Like, if they had Jamie Drysdale from the beginning, Jamie Drysdale, we might have called him up this year, you know? Like, and he was, 2020, a draft pick? They don't believe he should have been in the NHL when he was in the NHL.
Right.
We heard some thought about what they said to Cutter Gauthier might not have been, you are guaranteed an NHL roster spot day one, no matter what. Like, that might not have been the conversation, you know?
At least it might not have been done as forcefully as Cutter Gauthier
much as he wanted to be he wanted to be guaranteed, we love you so much, you're our number one right wing, you're number one center, whatever it is. Like, they did not say that. Would he have played in the AHL? I doubt it.
Yeah, I doubt it.
But he wanted to be told that, and it doesn't sound like he was. If they're going to play those games, Michkov does kind of have, I can play some games too.
You're gonna fuck with me.
Like,
I can fuck with you right back. And like, I guess my thing is that I don't think that is the worst thing. Now, it could lead to some very precarious situations where we have another week's worth of shows where we can talk about, are the Flyers screwing up the Matvei Michkov situation, in December. But Bill, it's never.
I really don't want to do that.
It's never going to be boring. John Tortorella is the head coach, and the Flyers could potentially have one of the top, most talented, young, very offensively oriented players in hockey. Like, it's going to get weird. Just prepare for it. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
But my point is that I think this does give Michkov a little bit of leverage in terms of being able to say, like, okay, like, fine. Yeah, just scratch me for one game. I get it. But, like, if you're going to make this a thing, by the way, I could get on a plane and get the fuck out of here, so maybe stop doing it.
Like, you paid me. My credit card works. I can get up out of here.
And I just think it's notable that Rottenberg is saying these things because, like, it is sending a message to the Flyers that, like, look, if you want him, that's great, but you better friggin' play him, and you better treat him right. And if you don't treat him right, if you play these games that we saw you playing with Sean Couturier and Morgan Frost and every other friggin' player on the team, hey, we're going to take care of our guy. Just saying.
We all silly like the mayor.